Security at Comcast. And as many of us here spend a good amount of our time, really thinking about, working towards defending against cyber attacks. I'm really happy today to be introducing our next speaker, Sean Malone from FusionX, an Accenture company. So some of you have recognized Sean's name. He speaks a lot of security conferences like DEF CON and Black Hat. I think we're really fortunate to have Sean here today, as he has several years' experience performing red team testing. And having that type of experience working with dozens of organizations is going to bring valuable context to this subject. In this role, what Sean's doing, these red team attacks, it's really valuable information for the organizations he works with. What he does, he brings back this information so the companies can actually utilize this information to provide more cost-effective solutions to addressing these weaknesses that he identifies. In that role that Sean plays, he reshapes enterprise security programs and architectures, and really what the evidence shows, they consistently result in significantly decreased attack and success rates given the organizations he works with. Sean holds multiple degrees and certifications in information security and assurance, and his official title at FusionX is Chief Strategy Officer. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sean Malone. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. So, as a little bit of additional background here, my focus is really on the offensive side of security. So this is in adversary simulations. These are red team assessments where we play the bad guys. We look at a given organization and what is that organization's crown jewels and what nightmare scenarios would impact those crown jewels. What do they care about most? What adversaries care about those organizations and care about attacking those organizations? And at the point at which those two intersect, that's what we're concerned about. And then we'll go out and actually simulate that type of an attack against this organization to help them understand and then improve the overall ability for them to not just prevent an attack, but also detect and respond effectively when that occurs. And then also, these organizations that we work with will call us in to help us out when it's not a drill. So when these organizations are actually under attack and they need incident response, to provide not just the boots on the ground, but also the adversary's perspective. If we've gone in and attacked an organization before as a simulated adversary, we know what that organization looks like to the adversary. So as we've gone through this process, what we found was that there are existing models out there for understanding the process that an adversary goes through, and thus a control environment for security controls that you can put in place to make it easier to prevent, detect, and respond. But those models aren't sufficient. They don't go all the way. So we wanted to help develop a more comprehensive model here. So we're looking at the kill chain model. First, we'll look at the legacy model as it exists today, and then a proposal for an expanded kill chain model to build on that and develop the internal kill chain and the target manipulation kill chain. And then we'll look at how we can use that expanded concept to build a more resilient enterprise. So the legacy model, which is likely familiar to most of you, goes through the 7 steps, going from reconnaissance through weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and actions on objectives. The topic or the concept of applying a kill chain model to the cyber realm is not new, but it was popularized by Lockheed Martin several years ago when they formalized it into these 7 steps. And these 7 steps are good and have resulted in advancement of the understanding of the offensive side of things. What is the adversary doing when he seeks to compromise your environment and achieve an objective? But the reception in the industry has been mixed. Overall, it's somewhat lukewarm. And there are a number of different reasons for that. So one is that it really is more perimeter focused. And it reinforces this concept of hard outer shell while maybe ignoring the soft, squishy inside of the network. So it's great for external attacks, but not really for insider threats. And then the final piece here, consider it the nail in the coffin for this more limited model, is that every attacker is going to be a potential insider. Whether you start on the inside of the network, or whether you're an external adversary who goes out to breach the perimeter and establish a foothold on the internal network and then move from there. So if every attacker is a potential insider, why do we only spend one phase out of these 7 on actions on objectives? Because what this really means is that when we look at this model, we're encouraging more of a game over thinking. That once an adversary gets to stage 7, actions on objectives, they're on the internal network. Is the game over now because they've reached the final stage here? This shouldn't be the case. And in the organizations that are getting harder and harder to attack, it's because they're recognizing that this model doesn't go far enough. It should be as complex or more complex to achieve the objective once you're on the internal network as it is to actually get there in the first place. So then, this is not a complete cyber kill chain, but more of a perimeter breach kill chain. If we recognize that this is really focused on breaching the perimeter, we can then build on top of that to explore what happens when an adversary who has access to the internal network is then seeking to achieve their objective. We seem to be having trouble here. Try that again.